So a very good evening to all the viewers. So we are the Mangalore branch of SIRC of ICAI is today hosting a VCM on the topic RERA Karnataka, opportunities and latest development. And we have with us a speaker from Bangalore, CA Vinay Tyagraj sir. And the Mangalore branch is glad and privileged to have him again for VCM here. We had him last year for the same topic. So since there was a very good response, we are really happy to have him with us again. Viewers, for your information, the CP committee of the ICAI, in order to make all the chartered accountants aware of the relevant topics of our profession, has called the month of May as RERA month. And under this, we are, hosting this VCM today so that all our members will be updated with the existing provisions. So with this, without taking much of the time, I request our chairman, CA Prasanna Shanai, to please welcome the gathering.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So we have gathered here today evening to discuss or deliberate on the topic RERA, Karnataka, that is opportunities and the recent developments in RERA Karnataka. And we have with us eminent resource person, CA Vinay Tyagraj from Bangalore, who has readily accepted our invite to join us and deliberate on the topic. And I have personally requested him to touch upon the opportunities available in RERA Karnataka, because I have informed him that the Mangalore members are not so practicing in this field. So we wish to explore the more opportunities available in this RERA Karnataka, and want to explore it as additional opportunity or professional opportunity for our practice. So he will touch upon the professional opportunities initially, and then go on to the recent developments, which has taken place during the last year. Because he has been invited, he had been as a resource person for our Mangalore branch during the last year also. So he'll touch upon the recent developments in RERA Karnataka after touching upon the professional opportunities. And as Gautam said, this month, the May 2022 is being celebrated as RERA month to create awareness amongst the members regarding the opportunities available in this particular practice, RERA practice. So I wish I request all the members to explore this as a additional professional opportunity, and dwell into a new area of profession if possible. And with this brief introduction, on behalf of the Mangalore branch, I would heartily welcome CA Vinay Tyagraj from Bangalore to this virtual CPA meeting. Welcome you, sir. And further, I would like to welcome all the members, the students and other participants who have joined us today for this virtual CPE seminar on RERA Karnataka. So before dwelling into the technical session, I have a few announcements to make. So we have a national conference, which is a Paridhyana, which is coming up in the June first week, that is 7th and 8th, Tuesday and Wednesday, at Dr. T. Mepai International Convention Center, which is in physical mode. So I request all the members who have joined us today to register at the earliest and use the early bird offer, which is going to end on 31st May. So request you to register before 31st May to save a bit on the registration fees. And we are going to have one more virtual CP seminar on cooperative audit, because since the cooperative audit is going to end by June month. So we have organized key aspects of cooperative audit on 31st of May by B.V. Ravindranath from Sagar. So I would also request members to take benefit out of these sessions. So with this brief announcement, I would request Dr. Naik to take over and introduce the speaker.
Thank you, Prasanna, for the welcome address and also giving us the description about the conference that we'll be hosting in the month of June and also the programs. So without much delay, we will directly go into the subject. But before I hand over the session to CA Vinay Tyagraj sir, I take it as a privilege to introduce him to the members. To start with, CA Vinay Tyagraj is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India with a BCom and LLB qualification. He is a founder partner of Messrs. Venu and Vinay, chartered accountants having over 20 years of experience in taxation and business consulting. He has chosen practicing RERA since 2016 when it was first introduced. He has presented seminars at various forums on investments, taxation, GST, and RERA. He is practicing RERA since 2016 and gained practical experience over 5 years by conducting more than 170 workshops, webinars across South India to various members of various associations, which includes the CA Institute, the Company Secretaries Institute, the Architect Association of India, the Institute of Engineers, and such other associations. He has been guest speaker at CA Institute at various forums and also at various management colleges. He is a regular panelist of discussion at Kannada news channels like TV9, Raj, Suvarna TV, etc. He has published articles on financial, RERA topics in All India Radio, Kannada Prabha, Indian Express, has served as a member of various technical committees of ICAI and is presently a part of Governing Council of National RERA Real Estate Development Council of the Karnataka chapter. With this, I request our speaker for today, CA Vinay Jagraj sir, to kindly take over.
Thank you, Gautam Naik sir, for a detailed introduction about me. So before I share the screen and discuss on today's topic, I thanks Mangalore branch of SIRC of ICAI for inviting me to share my wisdom or knowledge or my experience on RERA. It's a year on year I'm talking to the Mangalore branch members. Also, I'm talking to not only as a resource person and also various members from the Mangalore directly interact with me for their clients' requirement and also the on various aspects of the real estate projects. So my heartfelt thanks to the Mangalore branch for inviting me. Number one. Second, this being the RERA month. The reason is 1st May 2017 was the RERA introduction. And at the ICAI level, they have taken a call on to have the session across all the chapters, across all CPA chapters, and also branches. I think in the last in entire May, this may be my 10th session on RERA itself. Okay, today Bangalore, tomorrow I have a Thrissur branch. Last week I had it at Kerala, another branches. Like it's on continuous basis. I'm having a session on RERA. And even Bangalore branch had a session on 11th May. 11th May, Bangalore also had a session on RERA. I hope few of you might have joined in the session also. So, as Prasanna sir has clearly mentioned when he invited me to talk, you have to talk more of opportunity. When you show something which is opportunity is there, members also would be interested to participate, number one. Second, there is a new professional thing which can emerge as part of their practice rather than whatever the traditional practice or the practices which are carrying on. Yes, it's very much required. As a professionals, we should look at this as a practice. Okay, I'll share you throughout my presentation. Entire presentation could look like an opportunity for the members itself. So it's the members' choice, members' interest, members' passion to consider this as an opportunity for them. And of course, any opportunity comes with little anything which they shine or recognize themselves that require little efforts. So this is not an exception to it. And however, take it from me, it's my past experience of the 6 years. It has given a complete new experience to me, at least for me and people who practice in this field across India. They gain a very good knowledge on this subject. Second, very good recognition in the market. Third is a new experience itself in terms of their profession and approach to the customers or clients. Because this is the one area of practice which is a very different and very unique compared to any other area of practice. I'll share you why it is a very unique way of practice. Before I do not know what you can see on the screen. On the screen, what are you seeing, sir?
Only the first front page, sir. First
okay. Sheet. First sheet you have already, because I do not know why. I'll just share again. Okay, pin is something. The pin or something else. Can I? How do I pin the share screen?
Remove.
I am not able to see my screen myself. You have to excuse me on my ignorance or illiteracy of the technology.
No issues.
You are screen sharing. There is a screen. I don't know where the. Okay, now I can see. Is the screen is there, sir? Yeah. So, in terms of this industry, is a very unique industry compared to any other industry. Members can put it in the chat box also. When I say that, you can share your ideas or views so that you are also awake. You are also part of this discussion and deliberation. Rather than
we're not able to look at the screen. Actually, we are getting the front page itself.
no, I still have not moved the friends.
Sure,
friend.
sure.
Okay.
Okay.
1 second.
Yes.
Is that yeah?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So this industry is a very unique industry compared to any other industry. The reason is none of the industry can market something which they don't have. And this is an industry one can market, one can do business, one can collect money, one can do anything without having anything in their hand. So that is the uniqueness of this industry, uniqueness of this business. And also the view about this industry is always a different. What when you say that the real estate, what is that everybody gets into their mind? If you are in a real estate business, what is that people get into your mind? A common man to a real estate man itself. You may say that there's a lot of money in that, a rich people, right? And also other way of thing is also like it's a bad industry because it requires cash transactions. It involves a cash transaction. And also we do not know what is real estate about it. We know real estate. What is a real estate? Okay, so these are all the very uniqueness of this industry itself. So one should have real knowledge, number one, passion, number two, third is a patience. This industry, not only to part of this industry, to assist and to be a professional to this industry itself require a lot of patience. I'm sure that most of you have at least one client which you have served as a for the real estate. You tell me that what are the good experience you have, what are the bad experience you have with them. And when you ink their audit report, when you sign their financials, have you signed the financials without anything which you consider as a risk? So this is a question you should answer. Okay, for you to say that what is this opportunity you have in that? Yes, we go ahead and sign it, considering what is the risk and reward which is involved also. And in case something happens tomorrow, how do we come across? How do you overcome that? So that is the first thing which I always say about this industry, and it's a very good industry if we continuously engage with this and provide the professional service. You tell me that in this industry we have general monthly filing of your income GST, the quarterly filing of TDS, and annual return of income tax. If they have employee PF ESI is available, the cash transaction tax, the bank credits you have it. And if you have taken the loan from the banker, they have a bank loan for it. There is an inventory statement, we give it, stock statement, we give it. Against that, they also have borrowed the money, where this money has gone. So if you put everything, most of the people are carried away with various aspects in this industry. If you say that who are all involved is in this, start from your regulator, which may be a RERA at this point of time. The promoter, we call it as either a landowner or a builder themselves. Next comes the banker who lend the money there to the project. Fourth, there are suppliers, vendors who supply and supply the maybe a machine, material or the service, including we as a chartered accountant are suppliers to this. Then you have something the government agencies who collect the taxes, collect various fees, various NOC charges through this industry, and ultimately you have somebody called customers. So if you look at entire system of this, everybody has a stake in this real estate project. If one project has halted, one real estate project, say 100 apartments or a 10 acres of land or 5 acres of land, if this project has come to an halt, so who are all involved, which I mentioned now, from a landowner to a customer, to a builder, to a banker, a vendor, supplier, a chartered accountant, and a government agency who is supposed to collect their share of taxes. Entire ecosystem, entire stakeholders are at risk in terms of one project impact. So that is where our role comes to play as a chartered accountant, as a financial consultant. Nobody else can advise a client better than a chartered accountant, at least as a business perspective. Of course, if you are not an engineer, you are not a advocate to touch on the legal aspect, but as a business aspect, nobody else can service better than a chartered accountant, at least a business, because we are the people who involved on time to time with the builder for the advice to them. So presently we are doing whatever I told you: GST, income tax, TDS, banking, annual what is it, projection report, everything we are giving it, but we are not advising them the way that they should carry on the business. That is the difference between what all we do as a chartered accountant and what we also should capable, what is that we are capable of doing it. You tell me that if a chartered accountant advise on a timely manner and also say that here is a project which you require the additional funds for you to complete it, or the funds you have taken is already you have diverted into some other business, so this business may not survive, this project may not able to continue with the present cash flow of money, then the promoter or a builder will be aware that yes, there is a risk which is ahead and I have to mitigate it. And as a chartered accountant, that is the first, which is also is not related to the real estate, but real estate has little more requirement to advise a client. Other businesses or other industries itself has a different way of doing the business, but real estate has a different way of doing the business. Hence, it requires a little more attention of the chartered accountant or a financial consultant, which we advise them. That is at the bigger picture. That's at the bigger picture which I mentioned. And we should also go back and see that what all I am providing to a real estate client, and how can I advise as a business consultant rather than only an auditor or a chartered accountant. As a one professional opportunity that immediately you have it for your client, whether you know RERA or not, this advisory services as a chartered accountant is always available. But we have not encashed it, we have not channelized it. That is what is my experience in most of the time when I talk to any chartered accountant, asking what are you doing for your client who is into the real estate, number one. Number two, why again there is an opportunity in this industry or this area of practice is RERA is a regulatory body, unless any other agencies. What do you mean by regulatory body? It's like a SEBI for an investment or a mutual fund, RBI like a banker, or food license FSAI. Of course, our institute is a regulatory body. We are all members are responsible and answerable to our industry, our ICAI. Similarly, the RERA is a regulatory body which overlooks and which regulates this industry apart from development of this industry. So what do you mean by regulation and how the regulation happens in this industry through RERA is the authorities, which we call it as real estate regulatory authorities, monitor the project from the beginning of the launch or a pre-launch or taking a RERA registration till the completion of the project. So entirely, if you take up the RERA, entirely you take read the RERA Act. It has defined how you do the business. Entire business is defined under the Act. And whether it may be when you market it, how you market it, how do you do the sales, how do you collect money, when you should collect the money, and what is the quality of material you use it, how you convey it to the how you market it to the customers, what document you use it, whether it's allotment letter, booking form, sale agreement, or the sale deed, how the marketing brochure should be there as per section 12. In case of any changes in the plan, how do you approach it? And finally, what is that you deliver, and how you what it call it as a completion. When you call this project is completed, when you call this as product is completed, and when will you able to exit, when will you come out from the project itself, when you are free from this project liabilities. So entire aspect is inbuilt in RERA. That means how the real estate business should be done, how the real estate business to be carried out is defined in RERA. So if you are not aware of how the business carried out, please read RERA. Every aspect is covered under that. So as a professional, for me to encash an opportunity, one should know RERA, and in terms of for them to practice it. Of course, sir, any act, any statute require some level of efforts for us to know that this is not an exception to it, because this is a new statute itself. Because unless any other statute has some legacy or some background to it, but this is the new statute itself, and which is the entire industry is regulated under this. So which is a culmination of various other agencies, maybe a planning authorities are involved, stamps and registration department are involved, urban development bodies are involved, various other statutory agencies like your pollution control board is there, highway authorities are there, railways are there, BSNL are there. Everybody is involved in terms of developing one project wherein they play a very important role to issue their NOCs, no objection certificate, or the objection certificate in case of any project which is coming near to their area or locality. So one should understand the RERA Act itself, how it drafted and what is the contents of it, how the project to be executed, project to be from the beginning to the end of the completion. For them to appreciate this act, and also for them to appreciate that, certainly one should read it and also understand how it impacts a project. There may be a human cry when the RERA has come into place. Presently, also you can listen to the customer. You can listen from your builders or clients saying that, "Sir, why RERA?" So already we have various other departments. Now this one more department is added to us. So that is how customers also talk. But there is no exception to that. And this is a regulatory body, and this will continue. The more and more regulation will only come into place, and the more and more stricter, stringent regulations only happens. When that happens, only the professionals can only suggest, only advise the customers. Nobody else can do that. The professionals may be either a chartered accountant or a company secretary or the cost works accountants or anybody for that matter, but they will be a professionals only. Other than professionals, it cannot be advised. Maybe you have to go back in 1991 to 94 when SEBI was in place. Nobody has recognized them. But when you say today, if you say that they are the superior, they are the ultimate authority in terms of the investment, in terms of the stock market, mutual fund, any financial instrument which comes into the market. Similarly, another 5 years, we can expect a greater regulation aspects, greater development aspect from this authority, from this regulatory body. So another aspect to it is even though it's a state monitored, state controlled regulatory authority, but it is governed under Central Act. It is called Real Estate Regulation Development Act 2016, which is a Central Act, which is not a state act. So state cannot travel beyond the Central Act. And also state has its own limitation when they amend its rules or implement something which is to this industry without the amendment or modification at the Central Act. In all probabilities, modification or amendment to the Central Act is very, very difficult, because there are various stakeholders involved when it comes to a modification of or amendment of the Act itself. In the last 5 years, even though it's a new law, Act has not amended, not even single definition, not single word has been amended, because there is a lot of efforts has gone into make this as a final print of the Act. It's in 2009 they started, 2016 they have notified the draft. Almost about 7 years across all the states have made their effort to come out with this Act. So if that is the case, so You can imagine that how this act has been drafted and what all the aspects are considered in this act. Next opportunity, as I mentioned, one is the advice to this industry, and we should handle this industry, whether it's a small player or a big player or a medium or a one-time player. There is no exception to it. We have to handle them, and there is an opportunity for each of us. Second is look at their RERA itself as the opportunity for them to take area of practice. For us to take the area of practice, one has to go through that. And while area of practice, which is including the advisory services, which including the registration services, regular compliance services, and also till the completion of it. And in case of any complaints, any litigation, a chartered accountant can present and advise the clients, both not only the promoters, not only the builders, even to the allottees or the customers. Friends, we personally, I am attending to various complaints, various customer complaints which are filed even from Mangalore also, because Mangalore is not an exception to it. However, compared to any other places, Mangalore has a comparatively lesser complaint filing, and also representations from the allottees itself. I do not know what is the reason for it. Maybe their promoters are readily available to discuss with the customers or the allottees in the project, where they can settle themselves without looking at the legal point of view. So as a chartered accountant, certainly we have to educate all our stakeholders across around us. Say an example, like what I mean by that is, if some of your friends are buying the apartment or a real estate project, how do you advise them? Or your family members are buying it, or your customers themselves are buying it. So always there is a chances for you to attend or advise to them in terms of the real estate project, or taking a decision in terms of to invest into that project or not. So that is the one aspect to be looked at. That itself is an opportunity. Or if you have any customers who are venturing into real estate as a new area or new vertical itself, you can advise them what it takes to be a real estate builder, or what it takes to be a real estate developer. That to post RERA, and also post digitization of various aspects under the various statutes. So is it worthwhile for somebody to venture as a developer or builder now, or is it correct time or perfect time for somebody who willing to do the business in a systematic way? Is that a time for them to look at this? So that also one should look into and advise to the clients. Friends, we are looking at the various promoters or builders who are coming now, are youngsters who are educated and who are worked in various other industries. Now they taken this is a one more industry which really pays or really can make a difference to the industry and also the customers at large. So many new entrants also have coming. We have talking to a couple of customers who are all IIT graduates who worked in very big companies. They have started their project in a couple of projects in Bangalore. And also one more experience is they worked in like a big company like KPMG, PwC, McKinsey. They have come out and they started their projects in Bangalore and in and around. So there are a lot of opportunities and also a lot of potential opportunities for the new entrants also, but that comes with if they do not have experience, we as a professionals can advise them. So this is at the broader and bigger picture. And in terms of exclusively for RERA opportunity, yes, as I mentioned, there is a registration advice, pre-registration advice, registration advice during the period, and completion, issuance of professional certificates for various requirement under RERA, whether it's a quarterly audit or annual audit or representation before the authority, tribunal, the assessing officer, and everything is permitted under RERA. Section 56 is very much clear. We have a power which is equivalent to advocates in terms of the representation. So this is what is a power under RERA and opportunities under RERA directly. And in the subsequent slide, I will also explain. You can consider each of these explanation could be an opportunity for each of the members for them to look at that. And also, I invite the youngsters, who intended to take this as an area of practice. This is a good area of practice. Don't look at RERA itself. There's other learnings, other benefits which are all inbuilt, which is there. The moment you take RERA, one has to know about the property laws. The moment you know the property law, you can also learn and read about the drafting the agreements, MOUs, joint development agreements, and other aspects. However, one should know about the property related law before advise their clients. So that is what is possible. You know, our own member, senior member, and the second, third generation people are also practicing in the real estate because of they could make this as area of practice. So that is also possible if you start looking at this area of practice. And youngsters who are all hunger for any of the new area of practice, this is a one good area of practice. Wherever you go, you have an opportunity for this. And in my experience, most of the professions are all practicing, but they're practicing for a limited purposes of issuing the certificate or maybe advising client. And after one or two advisors, one or two certificates they issued, they also biased that what should I write, how do I issue a certificate, because act itself is a new, the practices are very much different compared to any other industry. Fundamentally, availability of the books of accounts itself is a challenge in this industry. So as a chartered accountant, most of my certificates is based on the books of accounts. If that fundamental books of accounts itself is missing, how do I issue a certificate? How do I issue an audit report under RERA? And if I issue it, what would be the repercussions when it comes to the other statute like a GST, income tax, TDS? So these are all the collective and overall aspects to be considered while they undertake any of the opportunities under RERA. So this is at the broader aspect of the opportunities. So let me take up the next important aspect in terms of what's happening in Karnataka RERA, and also the few important judgments, Supreme Court or the court directions, which says what is to be considered for the purpose of practicing and also advising the clients. Number one is latest statistics of RERA in the state of Karnataka. Can you see that there is a project registration, agent registration, complaint registration, and other cancellations? And if I see on the screen, there is a 5,884 projects are registered in Karnataka, applied for registration. Of course, so 80% of the projects have already registered in the Karnataka. So obviously, the project which is there in the in and around Mangalore also. So if you take Mangalore may claim about 15-20% of the project which is there in the Karnataka. Because after Karnataka, Bangalore rural and urban, after Mysore, after Belgaum, maybe even before Belgaum itself, my Mangalore or Dakshin Kannada claims the highest registration. I think you have about 400 plus registration in the Dakshin Kannada itself, and about 150 or 200 registrations in Udupi itself. So this is a good number of projects which is there in the respective places where you are from, and a good number of clients you can make it, and also you can render the service. Say example, Mangalore itself is about 400 projects. You tell me how many CS are practicing in Mangalore? Do you have about 400 members, sir? How many members we have practiced, sir?
Yes, sir. We have around 400 members here.
Okay. So we have about 400 projects which are all registered in Mangalore itself as of now, and about 150-200 in Udupi, and in and across. If you take like at least 400 means each of you can have one average project in your hand. So that's what I'm trying to say, that so there is a sufficient work which is involved, sufficient opportunities also involved. That is only I'm talking about the registration aspect. Subsequent, you will have from the registration to completion, you have it. So entire process, entire cycle, you can have them and you can service them. I'm sure that what will be the number of projects which you call it as in the Mangalore would have been attempted or attended by most of our fraternity friends only. So this is what is the status of Karnataka. I told you 4,880 projects are approved. 5,884 is applied. About 4,480 is the approved project. I wanted to draw your attention. About 510 applications are rejected. So this is where almost you can say about 9%, 9 to 10% of the projects applications have rejected. So what do you mean by rejection? The authority has under section 5 has a power to grant a registration or reject the application after giving a opportunity of being heard. So the application which are filed may be erroneous or document might have given in time or any other reason which authority felt fit to reject the application, they have rejected. So what will happen once application is rejected? Once the application is rejected, it is continuously showing in the website of the authority the application is rejected. That is a one aspect. Second, whatever be the government fees, RERA authority fees they paid is forfeited. So they will not refund that money. Third, the efforts of all the professionals, it may be a CA, architect, engineer, or anybody for that matter, has gone into drain. Of course, we can file a fresh application to get a registration, but again, it's a complete cycle. One should provide all the information, fill the information, file the information. But as a customer, if you go and look at the RERA website, there will be two applications. One application is rejected, one is approved. So what would be the state of mind for that customer when he decided that he wanted to buy a property in this project? So that would be the one aspect. As a professional, we should consider while filing the application and also advising the promoter. We come across that many of the professionals just file the application without collecting the sufficient document, because as per section 5, authority should either apply, either grant the registration or reject the registration application within 30 days. The moment 30 days is lapsed, authority is mandated to either grant or reject. Consider if the documentation which is insufficient. 30 days is impossible for many a time that we go back and bring some documents. Consider authority says you go back and get the NOC from some authority like pollution control, NOC from fire, NOC from water supply. Will it happen in 30 days? Most of the time it may not happen because they have an internal process in terms of obtaining. By the time this application is due for hearing, in the hearing, if they give a permitted time for us to consider another 30 days, they may give, they may reject it. So we should be clear when we file an application, we have at least fair percentage of document, 90 to 95% of the document already we have it. And what we don't have is already communicated to our customers or the client or a builder, stating that these documents is we do not have, but we require these documents to complete the registration. And with his risk, with his consent, one should take the conscious or informed decision to file the application, without which there would be a challenges, there would be a difference of opinion with the clients itself, stating that application got rejected. So not only the application got rejected, how many of we have a courage to go back and say to the customer, if I file the application again, you have to pay the fees again? How many will say, tell me, sir, how many times we have done like this? No, not many. Very few people where they are clear that they collect the fees again and again for each of the application. For the client, for our client, everything we will do it. That annual fees I'll pay something, including RERA also he will do it. Please do not make that way. Please ensure that whatever be the time and efforts we spend, either the time may be of me or my article or my paid assistant, that has to be compensated by the customers or clients at all point of time. So this is the importance of filing the application, and also what will happen if the applications are not filed properly. And also you have other things in the screen, which is third party transfer under section 15, that is possible. Application applied for completion, 1200 projects have completed. Can you see that there is a 4880 approvals are granted, of which 1200, about 25% of the project have completed as on today, and they have filed for a application for completion of the project. When they file for a completion of the project, all the documents which related to the completion is required to be submitted along with the affidavits, along with the professional certificates, and be aware that all these documents are made it public, which is available in a click of a button. I do not know how many of you have visited the RERA website and browsed through and deep into the website, and also you have drilled down some of the documents or the details. Within no time, I can tell you who is the auditor who issued the certificate for this project. I can talk to the respective auditors, calling you, hey, you issued the certificate stating 35% project is completed. And on the ground, only ground floor has come out of 6 floors or 10 floors. How did you issue 35% project completion? And you're saying that out of 100 apartments, 40 apartments are sold. Actually, if you ask the customer, ask the promoter, you might have collected the advance for more than 40 units. So these are all the practical challenges, practical aspects one has to consider while issuing the certificates under RERA. Because another unique about this act itself, statute itself, is RERA will not come to ask, will not come and ask you anything as a builder, to the builder. It is the customer will instigate, the customer will complain, the customer will hold you responsible for your non-delivery of the thing. At this point of time, authority do not have a ability or capability to touch upon all the 41880 registered project which is spread across the state. But however, they have a controlling mechanism, they have a regulatory mechanism to monitor all the projects through the system, and they know that which application failed what, and what are the specification of this, what is the timelines of this application, how many customers are booked, what is the percentage of completion month on month or quarter on quarter, what is the money collected, what is the money spent, finally whether there is a complaint on the project or not. So they have all the data for them to analyze and take a decision accordingly. However, if the customers, even out of 100 customers, if the one customer goes against, then that attract the attention of the authorities, that attract the attention of the regulatory authority for them to peep into this project and see what is there in project, what are the lapses in this project, who are all involved in this project, who are all the professionals in this project, who are the lenders in this project, who are the landowners in this project, and what is the reason that the customer or allotee has filed a complaint, and how do he gets a relief. So this is the entire system which is monitored online. It's an online application. You might have experienced that they don't take any physical document. Anything required, it should go through a system only against the particular application, against a particular registration. Friends, as I told you, about 600 applications have been filed in that region of Mangalore and Udupi. And post 13th October 2021, authority has brought a module which is upgraded module of the registration. If you have experience of looking at filing the application and the compliances, we had something called registration module. After registration, we used to get a login and password for the post registration and the quarterly update. What is the post registration? Why it is post registration? If you read section 11 under section 11, where it is mandatory for the authority to collect the one-time information about the project after registration. When the RERA introduced in 2017, application, the software which was developed, were started collecting the part of the information, part of the project details, part of the documentation, because entire document collection, verification, and granting the registration was a huge challenge at point of time, because about 2000 application has been filed within 3 months of span. 3 months of span when RERA has come into picture. That point of time they felt that they segregate the registration module separate and the post registration module, so that important documents would be collected during the registration module and subset of the information would be collected in the post registration module. Now it's almost 5 years of RERA. Now in the May we have completed 5 years and we are stepping into 6 years. Authority felt that it is matured. Professions are also aware. Promoter also know that. So I need not to give any relaxation for them to not providing the information related to the project. So what they have done is they merged the registration and the post registration information details document requirement as part of the registration. That is rolled out from 13th October 2021. Now all the information relating to the project of a registration and the post registration is effective from 13th October 2021. Friends, looking at the documentation, looking at the information, which is a very exhaustive in a manner, and many of the customers or clients of yours may blame or may ask you, sir, why are they asking so much of information, documents? Ashtonde yaake ಬೇಕು ಸರ್, ಏನವ್ರು ಏನು ನಮ್ಗೆ ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಡ್ತಿದಾರ ಇಲ್ಲ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಕೊಡ್ತಿದಾರ ಅನ್ನೋ ತರ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. Friends, so many a time we also support them without knowing the foundation and fundamentals to it. Go back and read section 4 of the RERA Act, rule 5 of the RERA rules, and various notifications or circulars which are issued from the authority from time to time. So it is very clear, either rule 3, 4 or rule 5 of the Karnataka RERA, or section 3 mandatory registration, section 4 documents required for the registration. Not even a single document or a details which is asking by RERA is extra or in excess than what is prescribed or mentioned in the rules or the act. If so, if it is mandated under the act and the rules, it is the mandatory function. It is a utmost important for the authority to collect the information from the builder, promoter, and make it available to the public at large, especially to the potential customers, which is available on the website of the authority. So that way the information which is required is a mandatory documentation. Maybe Karnataka may be asking little more compared to any other state, but it is a fair which is as per the act and the rules. After Gujarat, Karnataka is the second place in terms of the technology, or maybe I may not call it as a second place, maybe more or less both are at the equal footsteps. Gujarat has something which is better, where Karnataka in other way looks at something else is better. So there is no superior, there is no inferior compared to any other states, but Karnataka has a fair good system of application, user friendly, and a dedicated team is available in-house in terms of fixing the challenges in the system or the technology which is involved. So post 21 October, lot of details documents are required, and which makes the customers or the builders little tired, little upset about these details. But as a professionals, unless we know what is required, why they are asking, I cannot convince the customers or the clients or the builders. So better let us know all this information before we advise it. And which is very mandatory, there is no exception to it. We have seen in various projects where the biggest of the big heads, whether it's in terms of the industry or in their position, they could not influence it. Without these documents, it will not move through the registration. Sorry. So if you ask what are those documents which are all important is, So broadly classified these documents as a revenue and municipal records. Friends, as a chart, as a buyer of the project or buyer of the apartment or a unit in any of the real estate project, these are all the documents which are required. Of course, the documents should be collected from the builder, but these documents are also required under the act to be collected by the authority before granting the registration. And as I mentioned, it's a regulatory authority. Okay, it is not something which is like any other authority which issue or sanction only one part of it. If you say an example, pollution control board, they issue some licenses. What they license they issue? They issue relating to the pollution control board. Fire department issue relating to the fire. They don't worry about the pollution control. And like a BSNL department may issue a NOC which affect their signals or affect their transmission of their signals. Only to that extent they look at. But RERA look at the entire aspects of the project itself. What project requires from the legal perspective, from the engineering perspective, from the TCP like NOC sanction plans perspective, from the accounts. What do you mean by accounts? If the accounts are good, if the financial statements are good, there is a strength in the financial statement, then there is a plausibility of the project which goes forward. Friends, we have seen the every day we hear, listen, the biggest of the biggest real estate projects or the promoters are falling, collapsing. There is a various cases, including the criminal cases are also booked. And this makes little more and much more important for the authority to look at who is a promoter, what is ability, what is capability in terms of the completion of the project within the due time. Also, it gives importance, which also gives some idea to the customers or the allottees in the project to take a decision, take an informed decision about choosing the project, choosing the builder. Consider if the ABC Private Limited is having 5 projects and all the 5 projects are registered under RERA. All the 5 projects have registered in 2017 and 18. End date or completion date they are given at 2021. Okay, and for whatever be the reason, all the 5 projects have not completed their project even after 1 year of 2021. And you look at that project completion, it says only 50%. That means it takes another 2-3 years for them to complete the project. When the same builder comes back with a new application to the RERA, RERA may ask you, see here, you have applied for the 5 application. All the 5 is almost end in terms of the end time you have given, but now you are coming with a new project. What will happen to those projects? And the completion is percentage very low when compared to what you are committed. So authority may look at that aspect, or the customers can choose when they think that, okay, these are all the 5 projects which are all delay in terms of the delivery. If I book a project in the 6th project, that project also may fairly delay because the track record of the promoter, the background of the promoter says that there is a delay in delivery for each of the project at all times. So it's an informed decision the customer can take based on the background, based on the number of projects of the promoter. Also, it fixes the responsibility and the professionals who issue the certificate from the registration stage till the completion. So I can rely on the certificate of an engineer, rely on the certificate of an architect, rely on a certificate of a engineer, chartered accountant, and a title report or a search report issued by an advocate. Still, beyond this, if something to happen, yes, there is no one can guarantee something which may not happen, but at least these are all the professionals have seen, and the project has passed the requisite test at least to come for a RERA registration. So to that extent, some guarantee, some groundwork or some work has been done in this project before it comes to a registration. Friends, you all know that before RERA, how it used to happen. Even before plan sanction, the builders, the promoters would have launched it. for the purpose of for them to take a survey from the market, stating that, okay, based on my survey, I can go back and take the building sanction plan. If the survey or if they, when they launch it, they call it as a pre-launch. In the pre-launch, if they think that there is a more demand for 3-bedroom, not the 2-bedroom, then they'll go for the plan after that. And they may think that, okay, it is more related to the single bedroom house rather than the 3-bedroom, then they could have gone for gone for the application for the plan sanction. But now post RERA, that is not possible unless you have the application and also a registration under RERA. You cannot market it. To get a RERA registration, one should have all the documents in place, including the approvals, NOCs, and all the aspects which is I'm showing on the this slide. So finally, there is a legal draft because it is mandated under RERA now. There is a standardized format which should be used by all the builder and the promoter in terms of the agreement of sale. We call it as a builders buyers agreement. I will explain you in the subsequent slide. In terms of the Supreme Court has given a directions to the central government why the states have not implemented the builders buyers agreement, the uniform builders and buyers agreement, which is nothing but uniform agreement of sale. And post that, many of the states have implemented the standard format. In the state of Karnataka also we have it. I will share you in the subsequent slide. So then something called Lok Adalat. It is nothing but the reconciliation and conciliation forum. If you read section 32G of the RERA Act, one of the functions of the authority is to promote the real estate sector, and in case of any dispute, any difference of opinion between the customer and the builder, allottee and the promoter should be amicably settled before it turns into a legal fight or legal dispute. So in view of that, 32G, there is an inbuilt provision to facilitate the dispute settlement forums, dispute settlement schemes, like a RERA reconciliation forum is there. Somebody, instead of filing a complaint, before they'll come before them and they will deliberate, and if the both have come to a standard conclusion, there ends it. So in the similar manner, authority has notified something called Lok Adalat, and I think now 2-3 Lok Adalats have been done. It's a fair success. To my knowledge, about 300 complaints or more than 300 complaints have been settled through these efforts of the authority. This gives a various advantage. One is there's a relief to the customer who is fighting legally. For a builder also, it's a relief because he can't take the legal fight at all point of time. For the authority, instead of hearing 300 hearings, 300 into 2 professional represent, customer represent, about 3 to 4 hearings, time and efforts involved in terms of disposing, passing the order, everything. So through this Lok Adalat, if they able to dispose, if they able to convince both the customer and the builder, then there's the best thing that can happen. So authority has introduced this Lok Adalat and successfully with this running now. In the previous slide, I've explained that there is a standard format of agreement of sale, and which is notified by Karnataka RERA also. Friends, we all know that when I book an apartment and made a payment, and at certain point of time, I should get the agreement of sale executed, and the sale deed would be executed at final once the project is completed, and once I made all the payment towards the project or the unit cost. But agreement of sale would be entered initially, and you know that how the agreement of sale earlier, it used to be where the builders used to have an upper hand in terms of the agreement of sale. The terms and conditions of the agreements always was given the benefit only to the builder, not to the customers of the project. Friends, post RERA, by virtue of the section 13 of the Act, section 13 mandates the state to notify the standard agreement of sale. The agreement format should be standard. Every project should follow the same agreement format, and in case any addition deletion should not hinder, should not take out the importance objective of the act, rules, or the notification. Having said that, Karnataka has notified in the 2020 itself, stating this is called agreement for sale insertion by inserting Rule 8A, and also Form I is by way of annexure in the rule. So this is agreement of sale which is notified, and it is mandatory now. Every promoter of the project has to enter into an agreement accordance with in the format and the manner which is notified in the Rule 8A. So friends, go back and tell your customers, go back and tell your builder, if they are builders, they have to follow this, and if not, there may be a penalty under section 62 of the act for non-compliance of it. Very important. So this is the area of practice, which I said that if you go and advise, this is what is important, this is the area of practice. So first you read section 13, come back to Rule 8 and also Rule 8A, Form I, to understand the agreement of sale, content of the agreement of sale. How do you link this to other statute like income tax, like a GST, or the books of accounts, accounting principles? How do you link this transaction, link this document to other statute? Friends, prior to RERA, there used to be two agreements: agreement for sale of land, undivided share of land, agreement for construction, because that was as a practice. But after the after RERA, post RERA, there cannot be a two agreement. It is only a one agreement, a single agreement called buyer builders agreement, construction come sale come construction agreement. So it is mandated now. The format should be in the same manner. Here is the opportunity for the professionals. If you are practicing in the aspect of real estate, here is one thing, you can be part of it, your customers, in terms of drafting this agreement of sale based on the scheme of the project, even though the manner, the format which are notified by RERA. However, scheme of the project is different from customer to builder to builder, based on the scheme of the project, based on the building approval plan or layout approval plan. One has to draft this agreement of sale considering various aspects of the business, various aspects of the approval of the various authorities, various aspects of the business structuring, and also finally the RERA. So all these four aspects has to be considered while we draft this agreement of sale, and to be considered for the purpose of registering with the customers. Friends, it is not for the RERA authority to collect and keep it themselves about this agreement for sale, and every promoter, every builder should use the same format of agreement which is notified or which is submitted with the RERA authority while obtaining the RERA registration. The same format should be utilized at every time when they enter into a agreement of sale. So do not change any agreement of sale without taking a prior approval or without intimating to the RERA authority stating that this is the agreement which format which I had given at the time of RERA registration, because of whatever be the reasons which is required for me to now to modify the agreement of sale which I have notified to you, which are given to you. Please consider this agreement of sale which is now modified. So here is an opportunity for the professionals to look at that. Please go through the agreement of sale, which is very important and which should be mandated, which should be followed. As I mentioned, this is the Supreme Court judgment. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud said there should be a common agreement or the common format of the agreement. Why it should not be implemented? What is the challenge for the states to implement the standard agreement of sale based on the PIL, public litigation filed by one of the PIL person? So this is a Supreme Court order direction to the central government. Indian central government has written to all the state government, please implement standard builders buyers agreement for all the purposes. So now with this, there is a new and single format of the agreement. So wisdom or the past experience of the professionals have gone, and everybody has to implement, adopt this. There is a new opportunity. One second is there is a standardized way of agreement which is across the India. Wherever you go, you can see the same standard. So somebody with the knowledge, they may draft only earlier pre-RERA, they used to draft only 2 pages agreement, buyer, seller, property, consideration, that's it. Now post RERA, it has to pass the test of various aspects of the agreement, whether you're a small professional or a big professional. Earlier you used to give 2 pages to 150 pages. Now it's a standard document which has to followed by everybody. One more thing also, under RERA, we all know that agent can market it. If the agent to market the real estate project, it should be a registered agent under RERA. So unregistered agents are not permitted, or unregistered agents are barred from marketing the real estate project. So authority, even though Karnataka stands at, I think, second or third place in terms of number of registration of the agents. I think we have about 4,000 agents registration. Maharashtra has about 20,000. I think UP may have more than 4,000. So we are at the second or third place in terms of the agent registration. You all know that agents section 9 mandate the registration of the real estate agent, and also functions and responsibilities are also there as per the act, as per section 10. So one should follow this strictly in terms of an agent, and while performing his duties, discharge his duties to the customers, end customers. So authority felt and also experience, only 4,000 registrations of the agents are available. However, in the market, there are 4 lakh people. So felt it is apt to give some circular or a notification stating that all the agents who promote the real estate project which is registered under RERA mandatorily require the RERA registration as an agent to promote, whether it's a plot, building, apartment, commercial, mixed development, or otherwise. So require a RERA registration. The notification has been given. Friends, it's a simple registration. It's more like a KYC document for those person or a company or a entity. File an application with a 25,000 for an individual and a 2 lakh rupees for a non-individual registration of an agent, valid for 5 years for entire state of Karnataka. The licenses or the registration certificate holds good. And friends, please note that a builder, if he engage an agent who is not a real estate agent registered under RERA, even the builder is liable to pay penalty, because section 11 mandates the promoter to engage only the registered real estate agent, not otherwise. We shall not pay any compensation other than to the a marketing or a real estate agents who register under RERA. As a chartered accountant, while I issue a certificate under any statute for that matter, income tax, GST, or it may be under Companies Act, under LLP Act, you have always have an obligation to comment something in relation to this, because if act or any other statute which mandates to comment us on any other statute, then we have to comment on this statute stating that promoter has allowed or paid a commission, brokerage, or any other expenses which are debited to P&L account paid to a real estate agent or a broker who is not a registered agent under RERA, then we have to comment upon. It is not only to comment and report to the RERA, to a respective reports, because this is a compliance of a respective statute, we can certainly comply with it. Recently, Gujarat RERA has given a notification addressing to all the chartered accountants, referring to section 149 of the Companies Act, where it is mandatory for the promoter, mandatory from the chartered accountant to comment on the compliance and non-compliance of the real estate project. So this is a one more opportunity for us to look at that, whether all the compliances are complied with. before I send my audit report, audit certificate, not only under RERA, any other statute for the time being which is in force, I have an obligation to check and comment on this. And section 6, you all know that every real estate project has a start date and the end date. The project will start at this time and end at this time, this day, this month, this year. If the project is not completed within this time, that is called lapsed project or end of the validity project. Those projects required to file an application under 6 for the extension of the end time. Section 6 powers vested with the authorities to extend only 1 year for them to give the extension. Beyond 1 year, they have to revoke section section 8, wherein its authority, either suo moto or an application made by the third party, can allow the further extension or any transfer of the project to some other new promoter. But section 6 talks about only extension. Extension, most of you know that what is required for to file an extension. Few information related to the reason for delay, and the reason for delay should be within section 6. It cannot be something beyond section 6. Affidavits, then the professional certificate of engineering, architect and CA stating how much project is completed and how much project is pending. So how much money collected, how much money spent, how much money collectible, how much money can be required to be incurred, what is the unsold inventory, realization from the unsold inventory. So all these aspects come through a professional certificate, and a professional will issue a certificate based on the status of development of the project. After the documentation, submissions through online portal with the 50% of the government fees which you have paid at the time of registration. So if you remit it, it goes for the verification of the documents, and there would be a hearing. There would be a hearing. That hearing should be heard. The hearing, through the hearing, the authority may either approve the extension or reject the extension for the reason which is best known to the best known during the hearing of the authority. So authority started hearing the extension application. Earlier, sometimes only the important project they used to hear. Now all the projects they are hearing. One hearing before the authority is a mandatory for them to get the extension application. Friends, under section 6 and also under rule 8 of Karnataka, where it is the mandate under sections under rule 7 of the Karnataka, it is mandated to file an application 3 months prior to the lapse of the end date of the project. And for other states, if you go to Tamil Nadu, if you are not filed within 3 months, there is an additional 10% of the fees you should pay, and the additional 100% of the fees you should pay to file delay filing application for the extension. Here is an opportunity for the customer, for the professional, wherein I can advise looking at the initial status of the project itself or past record of the project promoter itself. Consider in the same example ABC Private Limited, where he is running 5 projects. In all the 5 projects, he could not able to complete within time of 2 years, and only in 2 years only 50% completed. Now he is coming with the 6th application, and will you allow him to take only 2 years as the time limit for completion? You should not allow, because none of the past experience makes him to deliver or gives confidence within to complete 2 years. So how can you expect, how can you advise him to give only 2 years? You can tell that, see, you're not completed, please give 3 years or 4 years in terms of the extension time for the purpose of RERA registration. There is no additional charge if you ask additional time. But once you lapse, if you go back, you should pay my fees, you should pay department fees, you should time matter, document matter, and also the efforts required by everybody in terms of the getting this hearing and also final approval of it. This is the constitutional of additional benches. Friends, as I mentioned, this is a new legislation. Lot of effort should go by the authority side. So earlier, prior to this notification, there was a challenge for the authority to hear the complaint of the customers, where all the three, the authority means one chairman, two minimum members, two members and one chairman, used to hear the complaint of all. So post this notification, what they have done is they have made the benches, like we know that income tax tribunal benches, any other civil court benches, they made a benches of different benches of up to 6 benches. So all the 6 benches can pass the order accordingly without depending on other members or other chairman himself. Then friends, you have there is a section 11 and section 12 in terms of the advertisement. And if you read this, important topic, this is every advertisement should have a RERA registration. And my recommendation is, when you look at some advertisement related to the real estate, please watch for where is the RERA registration. Have they displayed it properly? Have they displayed on which is visible prominently? Because section 11 of the act talks about the number, the registration number which is displayed by the promoter of the project should be visible prominently. What do you mean by prominent is a question. A prominent for you is different, a prominent for me is different. So in few couple of cases or the discussions while the authority or the tribunal hearing, they say that something prominent means like your mobile number which is mentioned on the advertisement, like your project name which you mentioned on the advertisement, that itself is a prominent. For somebody to see that, yes, there is a project name, there is a mobile number, there is a RERA registration also. Otherwise, one small corner, something where you can't hear, you can't see that. And if at all, if you want to see that, you have to carry some lens and you should visit, see that, or see the or read the registration. Now section 11 is very clear, prominently displayed. In lieu of that, Karnataka RERA also has given something advertisement guidelines. In the advertisement guidelines, they say that the size, the location, the measurement of advertisement. It says that on the right side top corner should be the place where advertisement should be given. RERA registration number should be given. The size of the RERA registration should not be less than 10%. The space which RERA registration number occupies is like 10% of the entire space for a registration. That means to say that as a promoter, as a builder, I'm paying 10% of my advertisement cost towards the RERA, the display of a RERA registration. To that extent, this has an impact on it. And you have seen that the penalties are levied by the promoter of the projects, irrespective is a small or big. Piramal has slapped penalty of 50 lakh rupees. Godrej, one advertisement, 1 lakh rupees penalty levied by the Maharashtra RERA for erroneous mentioning of the registration. In the entire city, they have mentioned the Godrej project and they counted wherever they have it, and into 1 lakh rupees they levied a penalty on Godrej. So authority is very clear, irrespective of whether it is a small, big, influenceable, they are least bothered. And when the penalty, when the regulation part, when they comes up following the guidelines or the rules or the act sections, they are very strict on that. So as a promoter, as an advisory, as a consultant, I can advise on section 12 of the act what should be mentioned. Example, 5 minutes from the airport. What do you mean by 5 minutes from the airport? If I travel through travel through a road, travel through some other way. So one should really prove tomorrow it's really a 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, I can travel through taking a car. So this is what is something which veracity of advertisement is a area of practice itself. So how the advertisement before goes into a market, that has to be checked. Ensure that it is RERA compliant documentation, RERA compliant advertisement, then only should go to the market. So this is an area of practice for the members. Then you know that quarterly progress. Friends, you all see, if you go to the RERA website, you can see who are all the defaulters of this quarterly updates. This is a screen which you can say that maybe another 3, 4, or 5 is lesser than this as of today. They have displayed the projects which are not filed the quarterly updates. So this is a number of projects which they have not uploaded the quarterly updates. So please ensure any of your projects, any of your clients having a project who have not filed the application, the quarterly updates, please tell them to file it. One is there is a section 62 is the penal section, which has a power to the authority to levy 5% of the project cost, and 5% of the project cost, consider it is a 1 crore rupees project cost, 5 lakhs. If it is a 10 lakhs project cost, 50 lakhs. So up to 5%, the promoter, the authority can levy a penalty for each violations. There is no limit. There is no maximum. There is a maximum of 5%, and 5% of what? It's a project cost. It is not 500 or 5,000 rupees. It's on the project cost at all point of time. They levy a penalty. And quarterly updates, as you know that there is a notification which is issued, circular which is issued stating 20,000 rupees the per quarter, per month penalty of delay. It's a huge. Now it's about 4 lakh rupees or 4.2 lakh rupees per quarter. Somebody has not filed 2 years back. So instead of your customer pay the penalty, you call him, advise him, tell him, and force him to file this quarterly update, failing which he will not exempt from payment of penalty, number 1. Number 2, in case if he goes back with a new project application, the authority says, hey, there is a project, you have taken the registration, you have not filed the quarterly update. I do not know what is the progress of this project at this point of time. When I do not know what is the progress of the project which you have registered, how can I issue a new registration? I'm sure that most of you or many of you have concur with me. For their clients, they have received their similar notices in case they have not filed their quarterly updates. Here is an opportunity for chartered accountant to make a difference, to convince the client. Unless you file the quarterly update, you cannot get a new fresh registration for a next project, new project. That point of time, you should come back and pay the penalties before he submits the quarterly update application. Then only he should pursue the new project registration application. So it is a entire, it's like a circle. You cannot go anywhere without complying all the compliances of the project. So here is an opportunity for the promoter. One is to provide the quarterly update filing services, provide the advisory services under quarterly update, issue a chartered accountant certificate, issue a engineer certificate, issue a architect certificate by respective professionals. Here is an opportunity for the professionals to encash it. And as I told you, under section 6, section 5 talks about the registration. Section 6 talks about the 1 year extension of end time. In case even after 1 year also he could not complete it, authority do not have any other option to further extend the project end date unless he has to go under section 8. Section 8 is subsequent extension of the project or take over or invoke the registration of the project because of the time lapse. So it is the authority, either suo moto or the application filed can be considered for the purpose of subsequent extension. And during there is a hearing for that. During the hearing, they will also listen to what is the hardship faced for non-completion, how many customers you have, how many money is collected, how many money spent, where did you spend the money, did you spend on the project or you not spent on the project, whether you have completed all the compliances. Quarterly update, section 4 to LD of money collection and deposit 30%, and also section 13, the agreement of sale format, registration of the agreement, section 12, advertisement, section 17 of mentioning the carpet area in all the documentation. So section 11, filing of quarterly update. Every aspect if you are complied with, then it's easy for any of the promoter. In spite of complying, there is a delay, and please grant me additional time. through the consent of the allottees, he can easily get this. And but however, they may issue the direction to, in addition to the quarterly update, they may issue additional direction. The additional direction may be, please submit the progress report on monthly. Please submit the detailed financial collection and the utilization on quarterly basis. So these are the various additional instructions we can expect when they go under section 8 of the Act. Friends, as I mentioned, there is a new professional certificates which are notified by Karnataka. One of that certificate known to certification, registration 1, RIG 1 Chartered Accountant certificate. Earlier we had a certificate for a post-registration, PR. That's a form 1. Now it is called RIG 1 certificate, registration 1 certificate. It's a very welcome move by the RERA authority. The information which they are asking is something like a very simple information. If you look at that certificate, one will come to know about the project details, promoter details, entity details. What is the certificate content is KYC of the promoter, who are all the directors, who are all the partners, how much share they are holding, how much stake they have it, where is their registered office, where is their other registration like GST, PAN or TAN, whatever maybe, and what is the project cost, what is the estimated cost of the project. Read rule 5, how the estimated cost of the project could be derived at. That estimated cost of the project should be part of my certificate. You may have a doubt whether ICAI permit to certify something which is of an estimate. The answer is straight answer is no. However, I can rely on the expert work of an expert like an architect and an engineer, and I can issue a certificate stating, relying on the expert work, relying on the expert opinion, the estimated product cost should be same, so and so. So please ensure that whatever be the estimated cost will certify. Take the backup, take the working papers properly, ensure that the expenses which they have shown is a genuine, and expenses which would be required to develop the project would be the genuine one and is possible to complete it. Say an example, you have 100 apartment building with a 2 acres land, and for 100 apartments, say about you have about 2 lakh square feet of construction. 2 lakh square feet of, if you take minimum 1,000 rupees, it is a 20 crore expenses required. But now considering the material, you can't complete any project, normal project with the 2,000, high rise between 4,000 rupees. So 2,000 would be the minimum cost required. I'm talking about minimum cost. So 2 lakh into 2,000 rupees, about 40 crores you require to complete the project. When they issue the certificate, if it says only 10 crore for estimated cost, will I agree? Is it possible for somebody to build a 40 crore property with 110 crore rupees of estimated cost? No. So here is the area of practice for the chartered accountant to analyze the information which they have given, and also consider the other professional certificates, read, understand the requirement, then only certify, then only issue the certificate. This is a chartered accountant certificate basis for the authority to decide, authority to look at various parameters of the financial aspect of the project. Is there is a own fund or a borrowing fund? If it is borrowed, how much is borrowed? If it is own, how much you have invested as of now? So this information is part of this registration 1 certificate. And please ensure while you issue the certificate, be careful, have all the working papers, and do not take it lightly without collecting the basis on which you arrive at the estimated cost, because this document, this certificate goes to the RERA authority, which is available throughout the project life cycle. You cannot take back the certificate. If the certificate is not correct, then there is a challenge to issue a show cause notice of why we should not refer to the disciplinary committee of ICAI for not exercising due care, due diligence while issuing the certificate. So this is what I mentioned. What is all required: estimated cost, borrowing, source of funds, designated bank account, and ownership details and other details. Then next you have 4CC. What we have seen is the project registration certificate, a CA certificate which should be issued at the time of registration. From the registration to completion, there are quarterly updates, there are annual audits. You already know there is a Form 4 which is a quarterly update. Form 7 is the annual audit. A very project of the promoter should submit this quarterly update once in 3 months, and once in annually the RERA audit, the audit under RERA, the certificate should be submitted. And I'm sure that you have gone through the present format which they're having. Authority is in the discussion to modify and issue the further enhanced and a detailed audit report, RERA audit report certificate format, where professional as a chartered accountant, we end up with certifying or issuing a certificate under in the same format, including entire aspect of the real estate project, which whatever happened in that 1 year aspect, 1 year time of development, audit certificate from time to time we issue it. And this 4CC, you completed everything. You have taken a registration and you have done your quarterly update. In between, you might have taken an extension section 6. Also, you might have taken section 8 invoking further time, and you have filed annual audit, filed all the quarterly update and whatnot which is required for you to file it. You pass all the tests. Then finally, you have to file the completion certificate. So when should I file a completion certificate? What do you mean by completion under RERA? When will we say that project is completed? And what should I do as a promoter? What should I as a chartered accountant to ensure that project is completed? I can send the promoter out. I can request the promoter, you move out. Now the project is completed, the manner and the way it is required to be developed. Till that point of time, the promoter may not go out without delivering, without taking his responsibility of delivering the project in accordance with the specifications, accordance with the building plan approval, accordance with the marketing collateral, in accordance with the agreement of sale, which is entered by the promoter and the allottees. This 4CC completion certificate is a chartered accountant certificate, should be issued by a chartered accountant holding certificate of practice. Why I insist on this is, I come across various incidences where the promoter use his in-house chartered accountant, in-house architect, in-house engineer to issue the certificate to RERA. Friends, we all know that unless the promoter, unless the professional who is having a certificate of practice, he cannot enter, he cannot undertake to undertake the function of the attestation. So certificate of practice is very important, and it can be of from any place. It can be of a Bihar, it may be of a Jammu and Kashmir, but a certificate of practice of a chartered accountant is required, and he is liable. And in case of any something which is not correct in the content of the certificate on which somebody relied upon and have entered into a transaction, so then there is a challenges to for the respective professional to prove have taken enough care, due diligence while issuing this certificate. As I mentioned, and if you come across any of the promoter make use of their in-house chartered accountant, please do not entertain them. Please, you reject the quarterly update. It has a huge impact on it. And content of the certificate is pre-RERA, post-RERA. Because as I said, in case of an ongoing project, the project which has started from the pre-RERA, which is travel and also which travel to the post-RERA, then the entire picture has to be disclosed, has to be given as part of your 4CC, bifurcating the pre-RERA and the post-RERA. And here, friends, while we issue the certificate pre-RERA, that means as on date of applying for application for registration of the project and post-registration of the project. I have to give the detail this. Consider it's an ongoing project. In 2017, July 31st, they have applied the application with some information which they had at that point of time. But when I issue a certificate, they still have to certify the as on 31st July 2017. This is a books of account. based on which I'm issuing a certificate. See, 2022, you can have a documents now, but 2017, if they do not maintain properly, or if the maintenance is not in accordance with what is mandated under that, then there is a challenge. Then we have to give the disclosure by way of comment, by way of qualification in the report stating this is what is the observation I have made. So this is what is a Form 4CC. It's a very exhaustive certificate. Start from inception of the registration details till a completion or vacating or till the completion, including occupancy, till the occupancy of the customers or allottees of the project, which has something like amount realizable, any deposits which are collected from the customers by way of electricity or water, should I retain this or transfer to the association? Any amount which is incurred towards the project in normal development work, withdrawal of the money, having collected the money from the customer, any other liabilities on the project, consider you are borrowed the money, now you are completed the project, unless you give a clear, unless you give the proper without liability, then there would be a chances for them to discharge of liability in future. We all know that generally builders go and take the loan from the banker. Banker with the good faith, they sanction a loan. If that loan is not utilized for the project, if they have diverted it, then what will happen? Project progress will not go, and the money which have deposited by the promoter is allottees may not be used for the project. Then the project would be delayed, and at the end of the project, when the project is completed, initially the borrowed money by the builder where he was paying interest, where it might have become NPA also, then what will happen to my titles, document which have pledged or hypothecated with the banker? So what will happen to that? So other liabilities in the project is also seriously to be looked at. Then also, as I mentioned, that this Form 4CC mandates the chartered accountant to comment on the other aspects of the project, whether association of allottees are formed. We generally call this called RWA, Resident Welfare Association. Actually, it is not RWA, it is called Association of Allottees. So association of allottees shall be formed in the manner and the way that is as per the local laws. In Karnataka local laws, you can form an association under the Cooperative Societies Act 1959. So there is a register of cooperative. So they are the authority to grant the registration. However, we have KAOA, Karnataka Apartment Ownership Act 1972, but few have a different view that it is not a registered association. If you register under KAOA, so except for the purpose of income tax, this doesn't have any sanctity in the eyes of law, because you are going and putting some document before the sub-registrar. It is only document registering, not the association registering it. So that is where is a different opinion by the different group of people. So further, you also mention how much money collected as a maintenance. You say that 1 year advance money, advance collection, I have done it, but end of 6 months, say you wanted to exit. So your refund remaining 7 months or 6 months of unspent expenses by giving the expenses statement. Recently, as recent as about 15 days, Maharashtra RERA has ruled directing the builder to give the expenses you made towards the project, expenses made towards the maintenance of the project, where everybody has contributed as a common area maintenance. Please tender the expenses details to them. Recently, as a very big project which is there in Kaveri backwaters in Mysore, also tribunal directed to verify the accounts, verify the books of accounts of the promoter in terms of the maintenance charges, and where the association have filed a complaint on the promoter itself in terms of the maintenance money. And any borrowing, repaid, balance outstanding, which are all required to be reported. Friends, this is what I mentioned earlier. Gujarat RERA has issued a letter to chartered accountants stating It is very much important for a chartered accountant under section 143(9) and 143(10). With the reference of SA 250 and SA 315, and has to be mentioned in every audit report of a real estate company. It is auditor's responsibility to verify the report compliance status of all the relevant provisions of RERA. Friends, it is very important. All provisions of RERA, it is not asking only to check only the financial management. It is not only say comment on the certificate which is issued for withdrawal of money. All provision of RERA, section 5, section 6, section 8, section 9, section 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, up to 17, one has to comply with any other provisions of RERA, whether it's a financial management, marketing, sales, booking, defect liability, customer complaint. Everything has to be verified, and all the relevant provisions of RERA means section 5 to section 17 has to be complied, and that significantly, in case of any significant aspects, auditor should report in the audit report under section 143(9) and 143(10). So now you imagine what will happen if you are a chartered accountant, if you are auditor for the real estate company and it's a private limited company, and will you not comment or will you not look at this? It is a Gujarat, maybe down the line it may come to Karnataka also in a similar line. So it may come in a similar line to the Karnataka also. Be prepared with that. For that to do it, first have to look at what is the provisions of RERA, how these provisions of RERA to be verified, and what would be the impact if I left out. In case of non-compliance, how do I report it? How do I communicate it to the customers? Customer in the sense builder, promoter, and what would be the impact analysis of it? And finally, how do I mention this as part of my audit report, which I would be reporting, writing, signing. And even though if it is a post-financial year, before signing the audit report, if something need to be complied, please comply with before signing the audit report, because as we all know that any action, any event, even after the balance sheet date also may be considered, but before signing the audit report by the chartered accountant, by the auditor of the company. So in case if it is post financial year, but before signing the audit report, can consider and you can drop the qualification in the audit report. This is a Gujarat RERA, which I have explained and briefed to you now. So that's all is from my end in terms of the presentation. We have another 14 minutes to left. I can take some of the question and answer of the participants. You can open the session for a discussion, sir. I can take the question and answers, and if any specific questions to be asked, you can free to ask them. I'm open to discussion now.
Sir, already 2 questions have been posted in the chat box.
Okay.
It is by CA Satish Kamath and CA Lakshmi Vishwanathan. So, do you want me to read it, sir?
Yeah, please, sir.
Sure, I'll do that.
Let me read, Gautam, I think. You are using a mobile.
Sorry?
You are using a mobile. Let me read that question.
Sure.
Yeah. Sir, the first question is from CA Satish Kamath. The question is it mandatory to obtain RERA registration for development of 10 acres of land if the builder has utilized his own funds to complete the project and has obtained completion certificate from the local development authority? In continuation to that context, please note that no advertisement is done till date and no advance money is received from the prospective buyer, or no bank loan is availed by the builder.
Okay, Satish sir and all the participants, I just wanted to mention none of my sessions is end without having this question. Initially, Gautam Nayak sir has introduced stating that 170 sessions have been handled. I think you have taken my profile from the last year. Now it has reached 220 plus, sir. Just for your
I'm sorry, sir. I'll introduce it right in next time.
That's okay. It's about 220 plus now, and none of the session has ended without having this question in place. The answer to this is, sir, as I'm telling you, this is a regulatory authority. The authority has a mandate to regulate the industry. It is not to regulate the project alone. Entire industry is before the regulatory authority. There is no exception to any of the project which is not to be registered. A project which may be ongoing, a project may be a new project, a project have been completed after the RERA. Every project require a registration, sir. There is no exception to it. The project which is for the purpose of sale, please read the definition of a real estate project under section 2. The project says is the project is intended to sell. The real estate project section 2ZN is very clear. If the project is for the purpose of sale and if the intention is to sell, then it has to be registered. There is no exception to it, sir. Sir Satish, sir, please advise your client there is no exception, whether he use his own money, whether he is not avail the loan, no marketing, and still he has to register. But registration he may do it initially after obtaining the plan or before he is selling, because section 3(1) mandates the promoter to register before selling, before marketing, before advertisement. You need not to come and register immediately, but authorities ask why there is a delay in registration in case if there is a registration on completion. Next, sir, one more thing is the local authorities does not have a power to issue the completion certificate where without a RERA registration. If you go and see the temporary license permission they're giving, which has a clear that RERA registration is a mandatory document for them to issue a occupancy certificate, completion certificate, or a 100% release. Without that, nobody can issue. If at all, if they issued, they're personally liable for the impact of it. And a few states further made it a mandatory, debarring the sub-registrar not to register the project which is not a RERA registered. And Tamil Nadu has clearly mentioned to sub-registrar stating that if you have registered, if it is come to know to the authority, then you are personally liable as a individual person. So it made much more complicated for the promoter not to indulge in the practices of marketing without registration. As a promoter, as a professional, I should not say that please postpone the registration. For whatever be the reason, the money would be required for this development in between. That point of time, he may need about 30 to 45 days for him to register. And if at all, if he is not collecting the money, if it is not advertisement, then there is no much quarterly compliance also. It's only progress development he should give it. There is no section 4 to LD compliance because there is no money collected at all. So there is no section 11 compliance because there is no advertisement involved. There is no section 13 compliance, no agreement of sale entered. Absolutely nothing except registration. Till the completion, it would be a blank and only to mention what is the progress, 30%, 40%, 55%. That is only a requirement, sir. Second, sir.
Sir, the next question is from C. Lakshmi. So the question is, RERA has issued a circular in 2019 that says even the landowner promoter is equally responsible for filing all compliances as a developer promoter, including compliance of section 4 subsection 2 ID in case
Yes,
of JDA
4 to LD. Yes, sir.
4 to LD.
Yes,
can
sir.
you deliberate on this aspect as to how we should be issuing the certificate considering the landowner's share as well?
Okay, sir, this is a very good question, sir. Maybe in most of the sessions I touch upon this also. This is a very fundamental basic question, and as a professional, I should aware while I issue a certificate under section 4 to LD for withdrawal of the money in proportion to percentage of completion of the project. First thing, what is to be registered under the project is under the RERA is a project registration, not the promoter registration. What I register is a project. A promoter, a builder may have a 10 project but I register 10 projects as a separate, not a one builder under him 10 projects. No, it's a 10 projects I'm registering separately. When I'm registering the project, what is there in the project? A land and a development aspect. It is not the development, it is not only a land. A land and a development aspect come together as a part of the project. When the land is available, there is a land cost involved. When the development is there, there is a development cost involved. If it is my own land, it is both is mine. In case of a development where I'm doing with some other person, other landowners, and I'm a developer, then the JDA comes into picture. But for the purpose of RERA, it is a single project, and it's a promoter would be the landowner and developer, both are called promoter, but the responsibility is with the developer himself in terms of collecting the money for the sale of the units relating to the landowner also, because it is not that 4 applicable for the builder share. Even for the landowner share also 70% money should come into this project bank account, and money should be deposited. Only after that money should be withdrawn and give it to the landowner. So while issuing my certificate, land portion is involved, development portion involved, inventory relating to the developer involved, inventory related to the landowner also involved. So it is a project related, not the promoter related. In case landowner doesn't cooperate, doesn't provide the information, please bring it to the notice of the authority stating that landowner is not cooperating, not providing the information. You also as a chartered accountant mention that this information are not provided by the landowner, which is wherein the developer promoter is following with the landowner.
So next question is from CA Sadhana. Whether GST registration is mandatory where completion certificate is received? No, I think no advance is received for booking till date. Is there any penalty if project is completed but not registered under RERA? Can they register it later?
Yeah, already I have explained to the first question where Satish Kamath sir has asked this question. Number one, GST is a separate. GST registration governed under GST Act. If it is liable to register, they will register. Generally, it requires a registration because if you are doing any of this business, any of the related to the real estate business, even though there is no forward supply, there is no forward charge, at least the reverse charges are applicable. Are we agree with that? There may be legal charges. There is a goods and transport charges, transportation charges. And what else
TDR.
under reverse charge? TDR may be there. In case of a JDA, where builder is liable for the discharge of the towards the landowners, whatever the consideration is taking in view of the JDA. So invariably, if no forward charge, there is a reverse charge is there. So hence, it is a mandatory that GST would be registration would be applicable. However, in case if it is not applicable, we have to see that, sir. Second question, is there any penalty if project is completed but not registered under RERA? Answer is there is no penalty as long as if I prove that section 3(1) is complied with. Section 3(1) is complied means section 59 of penalty will not be applicable. Section 3(1) talks about sale, marketing, collection of advance, inviting any money for the purpose of showing the project. If section 3(1) is complied with that, there is no penalty. Where there could be one more affidavit under section 3 stating we have not collected, not violated that. But authority may ask a question, why you have come delayed? Why are you delayed in terms of the project registration? Then we can give explanation because I have not collected, not marketed. Now I am in a process of intent to sell. Now I want to market, so I have come for a registration now. Next question, sir.
One more question from Mr. Mahesh. When under RERA, we have to issue 3 certificates: engineer certificate, architecture certificate, and chartered accountant certificate.
Yes.
So whether the engineer certificate and architecture certificate can be issued by the same person?
Sir, read the section. I remember there is a section definition which is given in section 56 of the Act itself, RERA Act itself, which says who is an architect and who is an engineer. I think 56 talks about definition of an architect. where it says that the architect is a person who is the member of the Council of Architect. So Council of Architect is like a ICAI, where they issue a COA number. And in case of engineer is by virtue of a degree holder or a certificate from any of the institutions, sir. Generally, it is a different, sir. Architect we recognize as a separate, sir, and engineer is a separate. Engineer cannot be an architect. Architect cannot be an engineer under the Act, sir.
And the next question is from CA Ravindra, sir. Whether developer can collect unsecured loan from LOT?
Obviously, you can collect, sir, but it cannot be disguised as an advance from an LRT and make it as unsecured loan. For that, if you have a proper documentation, there is no bar from collecting from an LRT. And you also see that how can LRT lend a loan? Does he has a lender license? Whether he has a NBFC license to lend it? If you have a company, it is completely not permitted. And if it's a not company like a partnership or the individual, how can he lend him money? He's into a business of lending, because now government is looking very seriously in terms of people who lend the money also. How is he lending the money? He's having a lending business or he's having a lender license. So it may be, or it's a very dicey question. And Ravindra sir, you should have a sufficient information to prove that it is only a loan, not a advance towards the unit. And if you have an agreement, subsequently repayment, and also loan comes with generally a interest. For a interest, there is a TDS payment. If you prove that, absolutely no issue. It is nothing to do with the RERA basically, but it may go beyond RERA, like your income tax may ask you, or it may any other statute may ask you this question, sir.
I think that's all from the members.
Okay.
I request our secretary CA Gautam Pai to propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Prasanna. Friends, at the outset today, we must first tell that we have a double centurion with us, say Vinay Tyagraj sir, who has completed almost 220 sessions on RERA, and we are really fortunate to have him here. He was with us. He had joined us last year too on the same subject, and has given us more insights. And with his presence, we all update and upgrade ourselves on the topic of RERA, and he has not just given us a detailed deliberation, but also gave insights on the professional opportunities that we as chartered accountants have in this field. On behalf of the branch, I thank Vinay Tyagraj sir for joining us, being here with us this evening, and also sharing his wisdom with all of us. I also thank all the delegates for having joined us this evening. And also, as our chairman rightly said during his inaugural address, that we have one more virtual CP meeting lined up on 31st, and that is on cooperative audit, and the most awaited flagship event of the year for us, the national conference on June 7th and 8th. I once again request all of you to register at the earliest, make use of the early bird offer, and do support us so that all of us can join together and have a great 2 days of learning. I once again thank the resource person of the evening, Vinay sir, and all the delegates and our technical team A1 Logics, and also our committee members for joining. Thank you. Have a great evening, and let us catch up on 31st. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all, sir. Thank you, Prasanna sir. Thank you, Gautam sir. Thank you very much.